Hare Krishna. Hello, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for being here today. Wonderful to see you all. And we'll start with the prayer. Is there anybody who wishes to chant today?
You heard Mataji, Hare Krishna. It'll be noisy here for me.
Mataji Koki, would you like to? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatyade Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatyade Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Hare Krishna. turn on your camera. Thank you for sharing the screen.
Shall I read, Mataji?
Sorry? Would you like
Shall I
to?
read?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Do some noise. Radhanath Swami is spirituality practical. It's too much noise. I can have someone else read.
We don't hear any noise, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. The car cruised along in the darkness of the night, its engine's hum rising above the silence around. As I carefully steered the wheels around a pothole, a hand tapped me from behind. Could I use the restroom? Asked Radhanath Swami from the rear seat, clearing his throat. He was very sick and had been napping for a while. Restroom? It was India, and the only option I could think of at this hour was a deserted street corner. With many apologies, I presented to him the predicament. He consoled me with a smile. I pulled over the vehicle in a familiar neighborhood where only the stars saw through the cloudless sky. What is this place? Radhanath Swami mumbled. We are in the neighborhood of Radha Swami's ashram, I replied. Surely he didn't know Radha Swami, but the air of spirituality that the name carried was sufficient to draw out his respect. He requested that we continue driving till we found another spot. I was wonderstruck. Here he was, sick and tired, and to nap again he had to relieve himself as soon as possible. In such an emergency, would the act be considered defiling a holy neighborhood? And after all, in India, it wasn't considered taboo. But for Radhanath Swami's respectful attitude, emergencies were no excuse. Fortunately, after a while, we found a petrol pump, and its owner gladly allowed Radhanath Swami to use his toilet. I often held a condescending attitude towards most other spiritual groups, but this incident was a turning point. Written by Yuvraj Prabhu. It's I I just wanted to share. It's no coincidence that Maharaj asked that question. He also wanted to teach everyone, but it's not a coincidence. It's just um, he probably sensed it or knew it and took it as an example to teach. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Yes, Prabhu, for sharing your thoughts. Always very much appreciated when we share our thoughts in our heart. Bhumika Mataji, would you like to
Yes,
read?
yes, sure, Mataji. Thank you. Radhanath Swami walks his talk. What truly are our requirements? Demarcating this elusive boundary between necessities and luxuries is a challenge that confronts environmentalists and spiritualists alike. Radhanath Swami's method of demarcation is simple. We truly require only those things that we use in the service of God and society. Accordingly, maintaining a healthy and fit body for better service is also a part of simple living. Even during my initial interactions with Radhanath Swami in 1987, I saw him live by this understanding. A monk at Radha Gopinath community had once requested me to get a pair of simple slippers, inexpensive yet protective. It wasn't hard for me to find them. The roadside hawker always across the street had plenty. But then it was hard on me when I saw Radhanath Swami wearing them the next day. If only I knew the slippers were for him, I would have got another pair with better looks. But he looked least bothered over their looks and used them for the next 6 months, as long as they assisted him in his service. By Mr. Ashok Parikh. Hare Krishna.
Uh, Hare Krishna. Sorry, I wanted to share again this Mr. Ashok Parikh Prabhu is Anand Vrindavan Prabhu.
Anand.
I found out later. And then I heard him talk about what Guru Maharaj expects from his disciples. There's another talk by Anandandan Prabhu about it. And he shared this incident also. And he bought those, I don't know if you know those white and the Bata slippers, the white and blue, old, very simple. We used to have, when we were kids also. And he brought those, the cheapest one he could find. He didn't know. And then later Maharaj was wearing them everywhere, even to important places and um, important people's homes. Maharaj is wearing those same ones everywhere without any concern. So he was shocked, and he was sharing again. Probably 30-40 years later, he was sharing the same incident with the same shock that Maharaj never considered. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for being very attentive and very much engaged in the reading. Mataji Lakshmi Jaya, Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. Would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Vrindavan pilgrimage with Radhanath Swami. Our first pilgrimage to Vrindavan was in the winter of 1986. We numbered 22, all novices, and Radhanath Swami was our transcendental tour guide. It was a 3-day tour. We visited temples on the first day, circumambulated Govardhan Hill on the second, and visited Barsana and Nandigaon on the third. As we walked around Govardhan Hill, a 21-kilometer trek, we sang Kirtan. Radhanath Swami danced all the way, stopping at holy spots, bathing at holy kunds. It took us 16 hours to complete the circumambulation, from 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Whatever meager luggage we carried grew in weight with every kilometer, and each tried to push it onto another's shoulder. You please carry my luggage, please. A year later, we visited Vrindavan with Radhanath Swami for the second time and went on a circumambulation of Govardhan once again. This time, we found ourselves less inclined to push our luggage onto others. And on our third visit to Vrindavan, the mantra during the circumambulation had changed to, "Please allow me to carry your luggage, please." Who can deny the transformative potency of spirituality? Written by Vishaka Priya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji, for reading. Mataji Koki, would you like to read? Mataji Koki. Mataji Krishna Bandhu Shratha, would you like to read? I don't know if you can hear me. Krishna Bandhu Shratha, Mataji, would you like to read? To unmute yourself.
So, Mataji, your voice is a little bit low still, but
Mataji Krishna Bandhu Shratha, would you like to read? Mataji Yashoda, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can read.
Yes, please.
Okay. Radhanath Swami and the scanning. Radhanath Swami's room in the Radha Gopinath ashram on that day felt like the hollow of a scanning machine. What was scanned? My mind, which had been for a while bristling with innumerable misconceptions, some related to philosophy and others to temple management. Who was the doctor? Radhanath Swami, who diagnosed every wrong idea cooped in my skull and spelled out its folly. How was all this happening? After all, these were the thoughts that bound secretly just between me and my mind. How did you know what thoughts I had been harboring? I asked Radhanath Swami. By observing you, simply through observation, I understand many things. In fact, I learned the basics of my spiritual life simply by observing the Ganges, he replied. The air of mystery about his last statement was somewhat cleared off years later when I read his autobiography, The Journey Home. There he speaks in some detail of the times he spent on a rock amid the river Ganges. By Krishna Das. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. I'm sorry if my sound is not very clear and loud today. We're going to move to the book now. So yes, Prabhu, if you could come. So yes, Prabhu, am I audible?
It's a little bit faint, Mataji, still. Here, if I raise the volume.
That's maximum I have. I don't know what's wrong.
Is it your laptop?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can hear if I raise up the volume. It's okay. You can read. You can read if you'd like. Yeah, please.
In case I will be not very loud, just let me know, and maybe you can um, ask everybody else who joins to read if I'm not very loud. I set out to visit Badrinath, high in the Himalayas. Traditionally, when a man was in the last stage of life, he would trek to Badrinath and never return. But it proved an impossible journey for me as the paths were impassable due to snow and avalanches. Returning to Rishikesh, I found myself at one of its most prominent ashrams, Svargashram, where to my delight I was invited to a special feast of all sadhus. All of the sadhus sat on the ground together in lines, one line facing another to honor the spiritual food or prasad that had been prepared for us. Watching how much these old sadhus could eat on such occasions, I was amazed and promptly followed suit. When we finished, we washed our hands, and many of us lay left side down on the ground, a traditional method of aiding digestion. After resting, I set out to explore the area. While meandering along a footpath, I met with some wealthy pilgrims who were fascinated to see a Western boy living among the sadhus. We spent the rest of the afternoon conversing on a veranda. Toward early evening, a yogi in his late 30s begged for charity, but my host ignored him. Irate, he fixed his mind to teach them a good lesson. First he stood on a chair and reached up to unscrew a glowing light bulb from its socket. Standing before the pilgrims, he crushed the hot bulb with his bare hand. When he opened his fist, he showed us how he had ground it into a fine powder. Amazingly, there was not a trace of blood on his single cut on his hand, and this was only the beginning of his performance. He then poured all the fine glass powder into his mouth, and drinking a cup of Ganges water, swallowed it all. The wealthy pilgrims were astounded. Reaching into their pockets, they each gave him a generous donation and asked if he would show them more of his powers. For his next feat, the yogi went to a nearby construction site to claim a long pole of steel rubber. Covering one eye with a thin patch of cloth, he balanced one end of the metal pole on his eye socket and the other against the wall. Then he slowly walked forward toward the wall. The metal pole bent more and more with each step until he actually reached the wall. Bending the two ends of the pole together with his bare eye, tossing the now U-shaped rod aside, he removed the cloth to reveal an eye that was bright red with irritation, but undamaged. Hare Krishna. Mataji Cookie, would you like to read? Shares Prabhu, I think I need your help. Could you please ask devotees to read? It seems like
Right?
not loud enough to be.
I guess we can just ask if anybody is available to read, you can unmute, please. Hare Krishna. Anybody or
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes, please. Hare Krishna.
I had seen so many of these powers among yogis, it had become quite ordinary to me. But the pilgrims now lavished more money on him, asking how he gained his powers. While massaging his eye with his palm, he explained, "For 20 years I lived with my guru in the Himalayan cave. Guruji took note that I was using the powers he taught me for prestige and monetary gain. Rejecting me, he exiled me from the ashram and cursed me to go back into the society. Dropping the people's money into his cloth pouch, he continued, "Now I am raising money to get married. Having been trained as a yogi, this is the only way I know to make a living." Although I had been learning from everyone from Swami Rama, who altered his heartbeat and moved objects with his mind, to my energetic friend who had materialized the Rudraksha bead, that such feats were not to be revered above simple devotion to God. It wasn't until this moment that I realized mystic powers were not necessarily spiritual at all. Those who were able to counteract the apparent laws of nature had naturally impressed me. So much of what I had seen seemed miraculous. Now I saw that such feats, unconnected to a meaningful search for God, were truly insubstantial. I was looking for more. The Himalayas had given me much, but I did not yet know what from my own worship would take and sought to expose myself to the rich variety of worship in India as a whole. The promise of visiting Varanasi, a highly spiritual city praised in Indian literature, and learning more about Buddhism and its practitioners at Bodh Gaya, lured me to travel southeast into the plains. I was about to descend from the Himalayas, but I knew I would be back. These 4 months had seemed like a lifetime and had given me much to digest. Returning to my cherished rock in the Ganges, I listened to the river's song. There, my Himalayan experiences flashed across the screen of my mind. There was the sadhu who instructed me to submerge my western clothes in the river and granted me the robes of a mendicant, the jewels of wisdom I collected while watching the river, offering my harmonica into the Ganges and receiving her sweet song, Swami Chidananda's simplicity and wisdom, Maharshi's blessing in dreams, Tatwalla Baba's absorption in meditation, the leper woman's blessing, Kailash Baba's fatherly kindness, Anandamayi Ma's motherly compassion, Balashiva Yogi's yogic powers, the Naga Baba's unique teaching techniques, and the lessons I learned from the rivers, mountains, trees, sky, and wild animals. As I bade farewell to the Himalayan mountains and all of the people there, it seemed as though I had been living in these forests for the better part of my life. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Is anyone else available to read? We can just unmute. Yes, Shraddha Mataji, Krishna Bandhu Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
To reach Varanasi, I boarded a train to Delhi. Through my window, I watched as the plains of India spread out before me. Expansive fields, some barren and others lush, were plowed by pairs of oxen or buffalo and followed by barefoot men clinging to plows. Gradually, the scenery turned to villages, then towns, and then, accosted by the smell and taste of diesel fumes, we entered New Delhi. Horns blared, truck engines roared, and people crowded everywhere. Hawkers yelled, children shouted, and money changers struck deals. The Himalayan forests were now far away, replaced by a polluted city teeming with population of millions. Wandering near the fountain at Connaught Circus, I heard a shout, "Monk, I can't believe it." A moment later, a blond traveler ran up and grabbed my hand. It was Sean, a traveling friend who kept a small Canadian flag plastered to his backpack. We had met at a Piccadilly circus in London amid the counterculture. Happy to see him, I was none the less coming from a whole other world, and was ill prepared for the encounter to come. As we spoke, Sean's language, mannerisms, and interest seemed so crude and uninteresting. What was happening? I politely listened as he gossiped about people we knew, his views of world politics, places where he got high and hit bouts with dysentery, even down to the details of texture of his stool. I wanted to run away. Less than a year ago, I enjoyed his company. Why was it so different now? Had he changed? I took a deep breath and suddenly realized that it was I who had changed. Until this meeting with an old friend, I couldn't fathom the degree I had changed. In Sean's company, it felt as if I had transformed into a totally different person. For a moment, it was startling. I felt dizzy and my limbs trembled. I realized that I had to be more balanced in dealing with the world that had been so familiar, yet was now so foreign to me.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Is someone else available to read? Please, you can raise your hand or unmute. Yashoda Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
As
Krishna.
seen rambled on, I looked within. There I saw again how the association and environment we chose can mold our character down to the fundamental views of life. Nearby, the massive fountain gushed a constant stream of water high into the air, reaching its peak. Each drop of the water fell down and splashed into pond. Watching, I prayed not to fall into the vicious trap of becoming judgmental because of my unconventional choices in life. I had been on the receiving end of judgmental attitudes time and again and couldn't live with myself if I did the same to others. Still, that tendency to criticize was so strong. I might no longer agree with Saint's ideas or ways, but why shouldn't I respect him as a soul that originated from the same divine source and carry on with the life I now held as sacred? All these thoughts flowed thought my mind as I carried on the conversation. After some time, she invited me to join him for lunch. I politely excused myself. It's been great meeting with you, monk, he said with an enthusiastic handshake. It's been an enlightening meeting with you, Sain. From that day on, whenever I passed through New Delhi, I stayed at the Hanuman temple near Connaught Place in the company of sadhus. Continuing my journey to Varanasi, my train stopped in Agra, home to the Taj Mahal. One of the exuries of riding third class was that one could impulsively get down anywhere and later jump into yet another train heading towards your, your destination. How could a person stop in Agra and not visit this 17th century tomb glorified as one of the wonders of the world? Entering the massive outer gate, I beheld a long pool of water lined with by cypress trees on both sides were flower filled Persian gardens. At the distant end of the poles stood the Taj Mahal with a black backdrop of blue sky and the river Yamuna. Moving closer, I admired the hand carved white marble inlaid with semi precious jewels both inside and out. While resting in a garden, I read a booklet on its history and learned that a Mughal king had the monument built when his favorite wife died, and what that it was meant to be her tomb, making 20 taking 22 years to complete, and 20,000 workmen and craftsmen. The monument was finally completed in 1648. Legend told that the hands of the gifted craftsmen were then severed to assure that there could be no duplication. In his later life, one of the king's own son usurped the kingdom, exiled or killed his brothers, and imprisoned his own father. Looking up from the book, I tried to make sense of it all. After constructing magnificent palace, forts, mosques, and the Taj Mahal, this king was once conquered and imprisoned by his own son. In the confines of prison, he suffered miserably while his family battled and murdered one another. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Anand Vilas Prabhuji, are you able to read?
Yes, Prabhu. I took some time just to make an excuse to read. Actually,
Thank you
this is
so
the
much.
only day of the week I get association of my God sisters and brother.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So where do I start, Prabhu?
Next page, Prabhuji.
Craftsman. Yeah, okay, next one.
Yeah.
Such is the pitiful consequences of greed for power in the heart that harbors the weed of selfish greed. The flower of love cannot survive. The conqueror once envy, lust, and greed. Now that's truly monumental. I continued my journey to the ancient city of Varanasi, named Banaras by the British, glorified throughout the holy scripture of India by the name Kashi, and considered by millions of Hindus to be the holiest of all cities. It was especially dear to those who worship God and Lord Shiva. I wandered over the Ganges. The sun was rising. Ancient stone steps called ghats extended in the both directions, leading down to the river as far as my eyes could see. Tens of thousands of residents and pilgrims were gathered to perform their ritualistic bath. Clouds of incense smoke wafted towards the heavens. Cymbals chimed, bell rang, horns trumpeted, drums beat rhythmically, flutes emitted sweet melodies, and stringed instruments droned sacred ragas. Countless flowers and garlands were offered into the river's current. In all directions, people chanted songs, hymns, and mantras, which merged together in tribute to the Lord. The worshippers wore their most colorful saris, turbans, and garland to honor Mother Ganges. Merchants set up hills of bright red, yellow, green, orange, and blue powder among the steps, with dozens of large umbrellas shading them from the day's sun. Devotees offer incense, flaming lamps, conch shells, clothes, jewels, and fans in the river. Throngs of worshippers offered prayers, oblations, and rituals as men and women, children, cows, buffalo, goats, monkeys, and elephants took their baths. Sacred food was given freely. Carts everywhere sold snacks and religious articles. It was grand festival of religious fervor. Entering into the contiguous enthusiasm of crowds, I took my morning bath. Should I stop here or shall we go?
You can read a little bit, Prajit, if you're able to.
One more page.
Yes, Prajit.
Afterward, I visited temple of Kashi Vishwanath, an ancient temple at the heart of Varanasi. According to the scriptures, Lord Shiva and his consort, goddess Parvati, once resided there. Throughout history, saints, kings, and common people made pilgrimage to the temple, which is which so outraged a Mughal conqueror that he destroyed it and built a huge mosque in its place. At that time, however, the Hindus had hidden the deity of Lord Shiva and later they established it in a new temple. Now, once again, tens and thousands came to worship each day. Somebody can take from here.
Thank you, Prajit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Shrees Prabhu, maybe Mataji Anuradha would like to read.
Mataji,
Anuradha, would you like to read?
let's see. You said Mataji Anuradha. I don't see SU. Anybody else? I don't see anybody else.
She's raising her hand.
Oh, Krishna. Oh, I changed the name. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Should I
Please.
continue?
Yes, Mataji, please. Hare Krishna.
Okay. One day while exploring Varanasi, I heard the sound of wailing women. A funeral procession was passing through the narrow alleys leading to the river. The corpse lay on a bamboo stretcher decorated with flowers and was carried on the shoulder of loved ones. Walking beside the body, I observed the families weeping silently. Seeing their sufferings, I was affected. I followed along behind and approached the funeral pyre to observe the final rites. It was so different from anything I had witnessed in the West. There on the burning ghats of Varanasi, I contemplated the mysteries of death, the same mystery that philosophers have struggled to comprehend for millennia, praying to gain deeper insights. I made a decision. From sunrise to sunset, I would sit on the bank of the Manikarnika burning ghat to meditate on the inevitable reality of death. Many Hindus believe that it is a great fortune to die in Varanasi near the Ganga, for it is said that Lord Shiva comes and whispers the name of Rama, the Supreme Lord and source of eternal pleasure, in the ear of the dying, thus assuring liberation from the cycle of birth and death. For this reason, many pilgrims come to Varanasi at the end of life, sitting in a place just overlooking the burning bodies. I observed the relatives and friends as they were forced to see the reality of death face to face. After chanting and crying procession through the street, the body was placed on a pyre of wooden logs and then decorated with sacred objects to the recitation of prayers, mantras, and sacred texts. To conclude the last rite, the eldest son or closest relative walked around the body while sprinkling it with Gange water, then touched a flaming torch to the pyre. The burning of a dead body signified the release of the spirit, and the flames represented Brahma, the creator. The fire then began its work. Its flame raised higher and higher as black smoke drifted towards the heaven. At this point, many of the mourners offered a final prayer, bathed in the river, and departed. But I remained, carefully observing the final movements of the corpse. The hair sizzled into nothingness. The flesh shriveled away, organs melted and bones crumbled. Visually, the flames devoured the entire body. In the end, nothing remained but a pile of ashes. These were then carefully swept into the current of Mother Gange, the final resting place. Such was the grand final for a person's life. In the background of it all was the sweet song of Mother Gange calling us back to eternal reality. At times in her song arose the Hare Krishna. mantra, Hare Krishna mantra, which I chanted while reflecting on death. In the course of time, the body would be placed in the earth or fire. If the body is really what friends and family members love, then why do they destroy it? It's not the body that people love, but the soul. The body is a temporary vehicle. Without the soul, the body is like a car without a driver. I see through my eyes, smell through my nose, taste through my tongue, bear through my hear through my ears, feel through my skin, think through my brain, and love through the heart, through my heart. But who am I? Who is? Who is the witness, injured, and the sufferer that activates my body? I contemplated this question while witnessing body after body preparing to enter into the holy river. Regardless of race, sex, nationality, education, wealth, or religion, in due course all bodies will be carried away by the river of time, the ultimate equalizer. Sleeping on river banks or under trees and begging for some cheap grains to eat, this was the life I had chosen. Except for the time I succumbed to dysentery, I was in fair health. The clothes given to me in Rishikesh, which I still wore, had gradually faded and tattered. My hair had grown longer, my feet were clawed and sacred from roaming the jungles, field, villages, and cities barefoot. All I carried now was a wooden begging bowl, a walking stick, a cloth bag filled with books, and the religious pictures I had bought with my last money. But my heart soared with joy because I believed so deeply in the goal I pursued. Life was a school and I had become its eager student. Something inside pushed me forward to see more and learn more. I wanted to know what it meant to be alive, to be human, to be alive. Place to place and person to person, not letting me settle down. Who or what was that something? I believed it was God, the presence who throughout my life had always been with me, whom I prayed to as a child, feeling him so distant but so close, whom I shamefully betrayed again and again as a teenager, and whom I now long to know and to love. In Varanasi, I heard of another holy place of Shiva, Pashupatinath, where it was said that on one particular night one's prayer are sure to be fulfilled. But the promise and adventure thrilled me. I traveled about 250 miles northeast by train on the rears of truck to the Kathmandu Valley in Nepal, where thousands of pilgrims flock to the temple of Pashupatinath. Being a foreigner, I was rejected entry, but I had come so far and was determined to worship that night and pray for a blessing to find my way to God's love. At much risk, I covered myself with sacrificial ashes and entered. It was a profound experience that also had me questioning that foundation of my faith and my direction in life. The next morning, I set out to
Hare Krishna
cross.
Mataji, thank you so much. We can pause here. Thank you so much for reading. Is anyone else available who would like to read?
Maybe Mataji Lakshmi Vijaya.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The next morning, I set out to cross back into India. I was heading about 200 miles south of Pashupatinath in the state of Bihar to Bodh Gaya, the holiest place on earth for Buddhists. 2,500 years ago, Prince Siddhartha Gautama escaped the luxuries of his royal palace to seek a solution to the suffering of birth, old age, disease, and death. For 6 years, he lived as an ascetic, enduring self inflicted pain, starvation, and exposure to the elements, all in pursuit of liberation. Realizing the limitations of the path, he ultimately came to Gaya, where he sat in the meditative lotus posture under a peepal tree and vowed not to move until his goal of enlightenment was attained. Like Satan's temptations to Jesus in the wilderness, Maya, the power of illusion, tempted Siddhartha with every possible pleasure, but he remained fixed in his resolve. Under this sacred peepal tree in Bodh Gaya, he became the Buddha, the enlightened one. From that time on, the tree has been worshipped as the Bodhi tree or the tree of enlightenment. Under the Bodhi tree, I studied books on on sorry, on Lord Buddha's teachings and gratefully meditated from sunrise to sunset. Meditating under the Bodhi tree, I felt that a flow of dynamic energy was lifting me out of my body and mind into space. In the 1960s, authors like D.T. Suzuki and Alan Watts were popularizing Zen Buddhism in the West. I had studied some of their writings and found its simplicity and directness appealing. When it came to my attention that a Zen master from Japan was teaching the way of Zen in Bodh Gaya, I was excited to have the chance to attend his lectures. About 15 students, half Indian and half Western, assembled in the meditation room, eagerly anticipating our first sight of the master. A bell rang, and the revered Japanese teacher entered. His head was shaven, and he wore long, flowing black robes, carrying a bamboo rod in hand. He slowly sat on the floor, back erect. A shaft of sunlight brightened his striking feature as he addressed us. I will be your master. Your master will teach you the original way of Zen as it has been passed down from a long tradition. The rhythmic way he spoke had a hypnotic effect. The source of all suffering is desire, he began, and desire arises from the mind's attachments to the senses. Freedom is to empty the mind of all thoughts. To have no mind or thoughts is Satori, the liberated state. His eyes shut tightly in concentration as he explained that Zen is to understand the meaning of life directly without being distracted by logical thought or words. You are Buddha, he said, but you must discover it yourself. All beings are Buddha as ice in essence of water, he recalled. The great D.T. Suzuki has written that the practice of Zen means a life of humility, a life of labor, a life of service, a life of prayer and gratitude, and a life of meditation. Would you like me to continue, Prabhu?
I can read a little bit, Mataji, for 5
Yes,
minutes.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
He then described his method of discipline. Your master will be strict, and you must obey his every word and observe silence at all times. Yes, everyone nodded. He began to lay down the law. You must pay no tribute to the senses. No sex, no intoxicants, no games, and no music. You will eat only when and what your master gives you. The new students began to squirm while the seniors reassured them. He continued, your master will teach you with koans, paradoxical puzzles that will liberate you from rational thought. Your master will teach you kinhin, walking meditation, and zazen, sitting meditation. There will be 3 sessions of group meditations or zazen a day and 1 to 2 hours each. You will be absolutely still. Any motion will be corrected by the punishment of your master's rod. Folding his hands on his lap, he then taught us a technique to empty your minds by sitting and concentrating on the intersection of the floor and wall, nothing else. When your master rings the bell, you begin. You will end only when your master rings the second bell. In the first evening session, my shoulder ached, so I moved it slightly. Whack! The bamboo stick lashed my shoulder. I never moved again. Anyone who moved was disciplined with the bamboo rod of chastisement. As our limbs ached and mosquitoes feasted on our blood, the whack of wood against flesh was quite common. Finally, we were saved by the master's bell. All the students surrendered to the point of shaving their heads, everyone but me. I did not have the heart to commit my life like the others. I just didn't have the conviction or will to do so. When the 14-day course ended, I thanked the master and departed. I felt the regimented lifestyle he demanded and the almost constant meditation to be a good experience. But there was something I couldn't name in the experience that made me suspicious. Some days later, just coming out of meditation under the Bodhi tree, I met a young American couple, two of Master's faithful followers. When I asked how they were, the woman began to cry. You won't believe what happened after you left the ashram. I can't imagine. Under the Bodhi tree, I braced myself. With a long, heavy sigh, she sat down next to me and began her story. Late at night, Jonathan went outside to use the toilet. He happened to see something very, very strange. Rubbing her eyes, she paused to collect her emotions. Do you remember Pam, one of his American disciples? I nodded. Well, she was entering the master's quarters. She came out nervously hours later. The next few nights, Jonathan hid in the banana grove to watch. To his dismay, he observed the same thing. When he broke the news to us, well, we felt that we just had to interrogate her. Pam admitted the truth. Master was having a full on affair with her every night. The young woman sobbed into a handkerchief and looked up at me again. We were betrayed. A sinking feeling came over me. She continued, relating how they had tested Master by secretly putting LSD in his tea. Under the influence, he revealed himself for what he was. You should have heard him. He went berserk on a complete ego trip. She deepened her voice and shook her finger in my face in imitation of the master. You must obey only me. I am the enlightened one. All others are frauds. If you dare to question my words or actions, you are doomed. She finished by saying that all his disciples had left him. My heart pained. I lamented hearing such news about one of my teachers. After my American friends departed, I tried to make sense of it. The Zen master had been extremely strict with his students, but not with himself. He had misrepresented a long tradition of sincere teachers. Unfortunately, such hypocrisy stains the image of all the world's great traditions. Hare Krishna. Perhaps we can pause here, Mataji. Is that okay?
Maybe just this little part, Prabhu,
Oh, okay.
if possible, please.
I'll finish it, yes, Mataji. An irresponsible leader can break the hearts and faith of his followers and raise suspicion even towards those who are genuine. What pain his hypocrisy caused to those who trusted him, and just see what it has done to his own life. How essential it is to live what we believe, how vital it is to practice what we preach. Throughout the scenic terrain of Bodh Gaya were scattered temples representing the various Buddhist nations of Asia. I wa- is it too noisy?
No, I'm saying maybe we can stop here because that's already another big paragraph starting here.
Okay, listen to
Thank
this.
you so much, Hare Krishna. Appreciate the devotees. We have a little time. We can discuss now. If you would like to share, I hope you can hear me. If you would like to share what you've learned today, what you would like to take with you in your life.
Um, Krishna Mataji, I can share a little bit. It's just this. I still keep getting amazed how Maharaj never met so many teachers and so many fascinating people and traditions and paths, but and Maharaj had the commitment and determination to follow so many vows over the course we read that Maharaj took vows and followed them rest of his life, still does. But he did not commit to any of these paths. although they appeared to be fascinating, and Maharaj, of course, took the essence of the paths and summarized it here for us, which is noble, as Maharaj just summarized it. But still, Maharaj did not commit to them until Maharaj met Prabhupada. And I every time I feel like if Maharaj had committed to any of them, we would not have met him, or we would not have been here. So so every time I feel like saved, perhaps that when Maharaj leaves any ashram or teacher, and then just waiting for the third part when Maharaj meets Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for sharing, Sri Prabhu. I feel like our Guru Maharaj felt um, in advance the sincerity of different teachers. For me, I would like to share that I guess I'm concentrating more on this part where Guru Maharaj mentioned that in the heart, where there is greed and lust, there cannot be love. And recently, I heard from another devotee an example of how um, if you put a piece of wood in water and then you try to burn it, it eventually it starts getting dry, and then if you put it in the water again and then you try to burn it again, it's like it will never actually get on fire. The same similarly to us, if we allow like lower parts of character which are not us in reality, uh, which are associated with this body, not with us as a soul, then we are constantly staying in the same position. We're not improving. And how it is important for us to learn how to distinguish it and start like stopping ourselves, because it is so easy. It is our like nature nowadays. Majority of us is to get frustrated, to get angry, to and have all of these different qualities. It comes automatically. And we've been doing it like life after life, but actually to start practicing humility and patience and so on, this type of qualities which are associated with soul, it is so much harder. It's we actually have to stop at some point, and just um, I guess in a way like forcing ourselves, right? Just to say, no, I don't want to continue practicing that. It's not going to help me. It's not going to get me closer to Krishna. It will not allow this love inside us to reveal again. And yeah, I guess this is my main meditation for today. Krishna. Dear devotees, if you wish to share anything else, please just unmute
Thank you
your
so
phone.
much, Mataji, for sharing. It's very profound and it's like you are speaking it to me, I felt. Thank you. And about Guru Maharaj in Varanasi, he he was there watching um, the burning of dead bodies all day, and he was meditating on how um, we are not the bodies and we are the souls that are moving this body when we are alive. So that kind of profound realization Maharaj was getting when watching these funeral pyres and how the bodies were getting into ashes. So that is also one deep thing that attracted me about Guru Maharaj, how he analyzes everything so deep. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. Lakshmi Jai. It also reminds me how today you read in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, like in the end, Krishna, I'm not sure Krishna actually says this, I don't want to lie, but the main meaning was that ultimately in the beginning we're practicing how to give up different things, how we should give all the charity for Krishna's sake, not just, for somebody to say, how good you are, for us to feel proud ourselves, but ultimately it's like a preparation for us to give up this body, because our body also doesn't belong to us. Krishna. I see many new devotees who joined today for the first time. Thank you so much for joining. If you wish to share anything, something about yourself, I would love to hear from you, to get to know you better.
Hare Krishna, the new devotees joining today, would you like to share something from what we
Hare
read today?
Krishna. Can
Yes.
I?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna. I'm Anuradha from India, Uttar Pradesh, and earlier I was connected to Krishna Bandhu, an online congregation, and here I also see one Mataji from Krishna Bandhu, and I'm glad to see her here. And it is my first time to join. Uh, I am connected to 2 or 3 devotees of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, but I really wanted to connect more devotees to get to know more about Maharaj. So I joined this, and I also connected Radha Leela Devidasi Mataji to adding me in group. So thank you, Mataji. Thank you, everyone. Please bless me so that I will continue my journey in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Pranam.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much for your sincere desire. And of course, all glories to all the devotees who are organizing it. Um, so it is definitely not our all because of Guru Maharaj and all because of other devotees who organize these different groups, and thanks to them, and we hope that you can continue joining us. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarupyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Bye. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you so much, yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mataji. Thank you
Mataji.
so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.